Hello, welcome everybody. SF Live episode 231. It is Monday morning, and as you can see, we're back in this studio. That also means I have a guest here with me, which I'm quite excited about. I haven't had a guest in the studio in a while, so this is going to be a great in-person conversation. I'll be joined by Marcio Fonseca. He's sitting already across from me. You can't see him yet. I'll switch camera angles in just a minute until I'm done with my spiel. We're going to talk GR Silver Mining, obviously, but we're going to talk 2021, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to review it, and also how we're entering 2022. Company opened the year with a bang, pretty much, putting out some fantastic drill results from San Marcial. We're going to talk about those. How do they impact the resource? And what are the plans following up on those great results, of course, as well. But before I switch over to my guest, before I change camera angles and welcome Marcio officially to the program, be reminded to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, hit the like and subscribe button as well, of course, and leave a comment. What do you think of the company? What do you think of the conversation? And of course, share this video with your friends. That always helps with the YouTube algorithm. That's it from my end. I said my piece, and now let me switch over to my guest. And it's great to welcome Marcio. Marcio, it's great to see you.
Thank you for having me here with you at the studio. Great to have a face-to-face, and considering the current situation that everybody is facing, but it's great to be here and tell everybody what we did last year and what we are planning to do in 2022.
It's long overdue. We've been meaning to do this in person. Your office is just a couple blocks away from here, but we haven't had a chance. So this is really appreciated, and a great start to the year as well. Well, since I have you, let's talk 2021 first. And maybe even a little further back, like how you set out. Like I met you 3 years ago. Maybe let's step even further back. And you presented a plan to me. We sat down in Beaver Creek, and your plan was, okay, consolidate Rosario Mining District and do all these things. And tell me about all these things that you've done the last 3 years and where are we at right now.
Oh, sure. I remember 3 years ago when we met, I told you like the core of the business of the opportunity in that district would be for a company like us to consolidate. And consolidation takes time. And we did what we told people we were going to do, to acquire the core concessions and create a big project, that is Formosa's project. And more than that, with the consolidation, we acquired a large land position in the whole state that can create optionality for investors who are participating in this company. And everything was done in a very diligent way. We didn't overpay. We didn't give up a lot of shares. We brought big partners to the company like First Majestic. So everything was done in a very conscious way. The last piece was last May, and now the company is pretty much set up to continue to grow.
Well, you brought in a big shareholder as well. You managed to get First Majestic on the share register as well. It wasn't just a cash transaction. What is their motivation? Like I know we talked about it in various other interviews, but since I have you face to face, just recap that for us.
For sure. Not many people is fully aware that I was one of the key elements when Silvercrest Mines was put together, financing and working with Eric Fee at that time. And at the time when the board at Silvercrest Mines decided to sell the company, I was key as an executive of the company to guide all the potential buyers. One of them was First Majestic. So I became very familiar with First Majestic, all the assets, build up some sort of connections. And when we came back to Rosario, myself and other investors, we realized Formosa's was there. And we did a lot of work on San Marcial, at that time was an option, and we were invited by First Majestic to buy Formosa's because they saw the quality of the work that we were doing and become a partner in the business. And of course, was a share royalty type of deal, but it's important to say that at some stage they participated in financing the company as well, believing what the team can deliver.
Well, you've been with Macquarie before. You've been an investment banker, actually. You've had an eye on the Rosario district for a while. When was the first time the area caught your attention?
Oh, this goes back a long time.
Don't age date yourself, please.
Goes back to 2005.
Okay.
When I came to Vancouver from New York as associate director. My role was to be a portfolio manager, invest in companies, junior mining companies, all the cycle, great cycle, 2005, 2006, 7, 8. Through investments and managing investments, I became familiar in that district. Other companies like Oro Gold Resources that became Marlin Gold, today is Mako Mining, came across the district in a way that I realized too many companies having small pieces. And when you have a district, like other successful districts like Mag Silver, other companies that control district, Silvercrest Metals, in a way that you see that the core for the success is to make that district a single ownership. So you don't have boundaries in the mineralization. So when you find something, you control everything. So we put together, in 2005, as I said, came across, put the investment, 8 years later, sold Silvercrest Mines, had some capital. I put my money in this company, which is very unusual in this business, but I used to be the largest shareholder. Today, I'm the number 3, the third one, and realized that 2011, 2013, 14, 15, 16, time to organize the business. 17, we start buying some assets there. And last year, we bought the last one.
Fantastic. You finalized the acquisition of San Marcial.
That's right. Until May 2021, we had an option. It's important, like you're saying, 3 years ago we met at Beaver Creek. We are the first company ever in the history of the San Marcial project to go through the option, do the work, exercise the option, and acquire. That project has been in options with junior companies for more than 15 years. And we've been able to buy the project and go from 19, 20 million ounces of silver to 40. Yeah. So we have a record to add ounces. That's what we are doing, drilling and adding ounces.
Okay. That brings me sort of to the next question as well. Like, A, what have you acquired? Like when of course you bought the concessions, but what came with it? And B, what have you done since? Right?
So we bought first the San Marcial, some holes, we put holes there, we put a resource, and twice the size of the resource, which can be open pit. We bought the Plomosas area that was owned by the first Majestic at that time, and a challenge. Imagine you buying a property plus 500 old drill holes. Everybody feels scared about to deal with that. So I said we got to do it. We put the team together and put the first 43-101. Of course, there was a bit of challenges for the period, but challenges brings opportunities as well. Is what we are doing now, doing field drilling to upgrade the grade of that area. And dealing with all the information, it's something that brings a lot of new opportunities, discovering new things inside what was an old mine. That's what we're coming across now.
Okay, I just want to drill a hole down since I have you here. Like on the challenge last year, you put out a resource estimate. Unfortunately, some of the holes that you acquired were calculated as zeros by the QP. Is that something like, why did you miss that, or why did that wasn't? I felt there was a bit of a disconnect between the market expectations and what you put out in the end. Like, tell us a bit more how that came together, and why did the QP discount the hold so much?
Doing a resource estimation is a long process. It's not like a one-week job. So QPs comes to visit, they understand the geology, we prove the concept that the mineralization is much wider, and we sampled some areas, and some areas that we sampled with channel samples are not part of the resource model because, as rule of thumb, normally you don't use channel samples in resource estimation. That's my background. I did a lot of geostatistics before. The QP at that time was happy with the whole concept, but when he realized the quantity of holes that were historic and we didn't have the core, we could not really show the evidence. That data was showing areas that on the mine, we have visible evidence of mineralization, but the drill hole below that level, for example, has just 2 or 3 samples. Yeah. So geologically, we define the boundaries to define the tonnage, but the data points would be just isolated below that level, some of those levels. So I was surprised with the QP decision, but as everybody knows, NI 43-101 is an independent report, and I need to follow the guidance of the QP and work now for the better. That's what we are doing. We are putting drill holes in some areas that are zeros, and so far I've been very happy what I came across.
Okay, one more challenging question, and in that regard, coming back to it, when the QP alerted you to the fact, hey, I can't use those values, like we don't have the core, it's tough to do. Like, why didn't you put a stop to the resource calculator and say, okay, give us another 3-6 months, we'll re-drill those areas to make sure they go into the report?
It was not only my decision, it was a company decision, which includes the board of the company. When you are at the fine line of the process and that decision was made, we were balancing the work of 9 months, almost a year, dealing with the 500 drill holes, and making a report that I encourage everybody to read. Those who would like, it's a complete report, where not only the issues of the zeros and the challenges, but the opportunity.
I was going to get to that next, the opportunity, because you highlighted that, and challenges always present opportunities. There's always a silver lining somewhere, and so, no pun intended, but silver lining.
Think about, we had three companies. So like we had one of the largest mining companies in Mexico, Grupo Mexico, that's mined lead and zinc there. But they had a lot of work, like geophysics, geochemistry, all this. For us to put this in a context, we need to have a 43-101. Otherwise, it becomes just a piece of paper, historic map. So we put all this in the 43-101. So now we have new targets next to the mine or surrounding the mine. Now that we are going to drill those and add ounces, that's what we're doing. And the whole discussion about looking at the data and thinking about, wait a minute, this is not just an old lead and zinc mine. You have kilos of silver and gold or multiple tens of gold in areas that have almost zero lead and zinc. So something is going on here. And we got to put a 3D model and put a 43-101. But the challenge was a surprise to me because I was of the opinion at that time that we would be able to go through the process without the zeros. But it happened. And then again, like, we have a couple of portable drill rigs on the ground working as we speak. We are about to move a drill rig to the underground Plomosas, and we know where to drill. We are not going blind. That's the beauty of the process. You don't need to go maybe a bit yes or no. There's a good certainty that the ore is there. And I believe there will be more than zero.
Fantastic. And you started that infill program already. Can you give us some more details on the infill drilling? How much is needed? How much do you get to those zeros back into the resource?
We are not putting a date for the resource. My ultimate goal is probably to get this done in 2022. We divide the area of the Plomosas mine in 3 sectors by levels. The first 250 meters close to the surface. We are drilling some pillars in some areas that haven't been mined and has an old hole. And what we are doing is initially probably close to 3,000 meters. And then we are going to do a run and see the upside. We are looking at how we are going to drill close to channel samples that have kilos of silver that were not used in the resource estimation. Try to bring this to the new resource. Also important is to the gold and silver only veins. Now we have a much better understanding where do they run and how thick they are in directions. So we are putting some drill holes very strategic to really put that into the context of the model.
Fantastic. And you've moved 2 drills already over there to that area, or how many? Sorry.
We had 2 drill rigs on the surface. We are about to finish the first round of surface infill drilling, and we are about to bring an underground drill rig to the underground. And we are doing something that's very innovative. We have adapted some portable drill rigs to be electric. And we are doing portable, like 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters long, short holes in areas that we can do with 2 people and very quick at low cost.
Interesting. Electric drills underground. Do they have enough power to go through the rock?
Plomosas was a mine that shut down in 2001. All the infrastructure is still there. All the electric cables, we're just adding some small points. 8 kilometers of tunnels. We don't need to excavate a single tunnel to put a drill rig. We have location. That helps a lot.
Yeah, I love the photos in your presentation, by the way. I think Brenda standing in there, and you can see just the size and width of the tunnels as well. It's just easy.
Think about the mine shows that we have 2 different opportunities here as a geological model. Of course, there'll be lead and zinc because of the big system. I'm not going to deny that. But the presence of high-grade gold and silver is a fact. Now we are through the process, 1 year, 10 geologists working. We have a 3D model. Now we know where we can go and drill this. That's the point.
Low-hanging fruit now. So looking forward.
That's my expectation. Other point that not many people is aware that the mine, the Plomosas mine, 10 years, lead and zinc, pretty much base metals oriented, but the average silver grade for the whole history of the mine was 180 grams per ton silver. Equivalent, some people like equivalent, 330. Our average grade in the resource model is 40 grams per ton silver. So what we are working now, we work towards to move this 40 close to what was the historic production grade.
Yeah. Just to put a bow around Plomosas before we talk San Marcial, you started drilling. You've put some holes. You've pulled some holes already. What's the timeline for results? Like, what's the lab situation in Mexico right now?
Like everybody, all my peers, everybody got caught in this whole process. It's become a situation for the whole planet. What used to be like 3-4 weeks probably is going to 7-8 weeks. And last week I got an announcement by the lab that they were going to shut down for 2 weeks. So is a new reality that we need to face. Optimistically, I would see probably mid-March, late March, to start seeing some infill drill results of the first batch of holes that we completed at Plomosas.
Okay, let's hope you're right, but you can't influence it. There's so much going on in the world right now that we cannot control. Let's get back to some really positive news. And we hinted at it, or I hinted at it in the intro. You put out some fantastic holes from San Marcial, and I had to take some notes. I had to write it down. It's 18.5 meters of 773 grams of silver per ton, and that's fantastic. We just talked about the resource of 40 grams at Plomosas. Put that in context for us. What does it mean? And talk us through it.
For sure. Like when entering the option to buy San Marcial, reading the old historic reports, everybody was saying that this was just a shallow resource, no opportunity for going down deep, to have big ore shoots, big ore bodies with high grade. We are proving that we can discover. How we did that, we put a lot of knowledge, thinking, to look at the resource that we have 40 million ounces, shallow, close to the surface, can be open pit, some high grade shoots, and we connect the dots. And we did what nobody again have done in San Marcial. I think you remember, you went there, it was a very small tunnel.
It was.
Today you can drive a truck inside and go into the mountain, and you put a drill hole station there and put a fan of drill holes, checking the down plunge and down deep of the Plomosas Brecha, some areas above that had really high grade. And the first batch of hole came very positive. And what's important that we are not relying these 18 meters at close to 700 grams per ton in one single interval. We have 5 or 6 really plus kilo samples of silver in that interval, showing that there's something very robust there. And I'm very optimistic for the pending 5 holes based on the geology I've seen so far.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you took my next question. I was going to say, like, three holes you put out, 8 you drilled in total. It's roughly 2,500 meter program, and 5 are still pending. And they look similar, you said?
I like what I saw. Of course, I cannot read it. My eyes cannot read the grade. But the work looks interesting. And as they are part of the same program, in the same concept, to expand the resource, because the resource was done from the previous resource, that 40 million ounces of silver, equivalent 47. You can see that silver predominant, this project, at this area, the San Marcial area. Now we increase probably more 170, 180 meters down deep. So it's an increase in the potential, if you want to talk about how much meters you want to increase from the bottom of the resource, probably 60% increase on the footprint of the area that could be a resource in the future.
Do you have to do any more drilling for a resource upgrade? Like only 8 holes, is that enough for an upgrade? Does that give you enough confidence?
Based on what I saw, I would like this year to go bring another drill rig back to the tunnel, or excavate another parallel tunnels or some drill stations, because we see that there's a potential really to make it really much higher grade. And looking at the result, 18 meters at 700 grams per ton of silver, that's close to 14,000 grams per ton per meter. It's a fantastic interval. When you think most of the industry like to be at above 1,000, this is wide and high grade. We want to find more ore shoots like that.
Okay, perfect. All right. Plomosas we talked about. San Marcial we talked about. You got a zillion other drill targets, but of course it's difficult as a junior mining exploration company to focus a bit. Let's talk about plans for 2022. You've hit some other results, like La Colorada is one of the areas you tested last year. Are we going to see more wildcat drilling, or is it really a focus on bringing the resource up?
So last year was important to go and test some areas. La Colorada, Loma Dorada is showing to be very interesting. Now 2022 is a year to do some step-out drilling close to resource areas, connect the targets, and make the case for a much larger resource. Loma Dorada, La Colorada is the case of this, because they're very close. It's 1.2 kilometers apart, but the rocks between them are looking very interesting. We are going to put some, it's not necessarily infill, because it's very 100 meters, 200 meters apart. Put some holes between these 2 targets and connect some old mines and make a long system. That's what we are going to do. Plomosas mine, you might going to step out to the north, because we believe we have the veins there. Right now, this resource is 700 meters long only. So the hills and some showings on the surface keep showing some veins, probably up to 1.42 kilometers in other areas of old mines. We want to do that. So Marcial, drilling around the resource and deep to see how we can expand. It's more a year for resource expansion, what you're going to see.
Well, fair enough. And also, it's like we talked about this before we went live. Like, the markets today are just terrible. Like it's a bad Monday. Like I almost called you, said I'm going home. I'm done with this.
I was going to cancel too. I said,
Oh,
no.
it's like, just brutal. But you're in the fortunate position. You have roughly $4 million in the bank. Is that correct? Is that
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And that how far does that take you?
Can take us probably the next 6 months, but as a junior company, we rely a lot in the capital markets. When you see results like this, super high grade, and investors and shareholders are asking, why don't you drill more, right? Why you don't expand the tunnel? We are assessing some opportunities, some partnerships, some ideas, and like you said at the beginning, controlling this big district, you have options maybe to non-dilutive opportunities to bring some more cash to the company, transacting royalties, other things that we have available.
Yeah, just like at 30 cents, or like I haven't checked lately. Like it was around 30 cents at last check. It's not ideal. Like you don't want to raise money there.
Yeah, no.
Again, right?
We need to be clever how you work on this. I'm a shareholder in the company. I look at that way as well. Yeah. And different avenues, but we need to be fully funded in the business because we control the assets, and controlling the district is something that we want to maintain. That's important.
Fantastic. And you, as you said, you've just divested a project actually as well. So that's a case study right there.
Yeah. Last December, we completed an acquisition of a Mexican private company to sell part of the portfolio to the south of Trinidad, and we were granted a royalty. So I'm looking maybe with some parties, royalty companies, to transact that royalty for cash.
Well, and we had that conversation before in other, like last year as well. Cimarron, areas of La Trinidad, possible areas you could potentially shave off. Is that correct?
That's true. The company control many concessions in very attractive areas. Some of those have 50, 60 drill holes. Some of them even have historic 43-101s. It's a classic case where investors can create a new company, and maybe your silver shareholders can earn a position in that company, and also the company can receive some cash.
No, fantastic. Non-dilutive, I think, is the key here.
Yeah,
right?
that's important.
Because you already have 200 million shares outstanding.
167 outstanding, 190 something.
Something like that, fully diluted, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so, fantastic. Marcio, like, why have we waited so long to do this in person?
I think pandemic.
It is fantastic catching up with you, Marcio. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Thanks for presenting the outlook of the company. Lots happening. Looking forward to more San Marcial high-grade results. Formosa's drill results from the infill. I think that should give us a very, very clear guidance of where things are headed, and I think they're looking up personally, but don't take my word for it, everybody, but you heard it from Marcio as well. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Fantastic.
For other ones. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody else, thank you so much, and really appreciate you tuning in. SF Live episode 231. Make sure to follow us here on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, of course, as well. Hit the like and subscribe button, turn on that bell notification. As you've noticed, this is live. We're doing all our interviews live, so unedited, unfiltered, whatever Marcio said here during the conversation, you heard it as well. There's nothing missing from it. So really excited to do this.